The 2016 NFL Draft is littered with defensive talent, while the quarterback class leaves much to be desired. In order to get a clearer focus of just how this draft will be defined, I turn to Josh Zimmer, a senior NFL draft analyst for NGSC Sports, as we engaged over the weekend in an NFL draft tap dance. So, first of all, Josh, we want to take the opportunity to welcome you to the Two-Man Advantage Podcast, and we're excited to talk NFL Draft and Detroit Lions football with you this afternoon.
Well, hey, I appreciate it, man. I am always down to talk some football. More importantly, to talk about the NFC North.
It's a great division, isn't it? Even though you're a Vikings fan, I'll forgive that, okay?
Hey, you know what? I not only am I a Vikings fan, but there are a couple of guys that I played against in college that play for the Vikings now, so it makes my fandom even sweeter.
Very cool. So when we look at the NFL draft as a whole, it's heavily defensive. So I'm just wondering your thoughts on the overall draft class itself and all of the defensive talent that it possesses.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. This is a loaded class defensively. More importantly, it's loaded within the front four. You're going to be able to get yourself a premier guy, heading into late in the second round. This defensive line class in itself, you're probably going to see a majority of that talent be taken within the top 15. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I think it could. But you're going to see a high number of defensive linemen taken in the first round this year. I know for myself, I have 12 guys, both defensive ends, outside linebackers, that hybrid type, and interior defensive linemen that have first-round grades. So very, very deep within the defensive front four.
And when we look at the quarterback class, obviously it's not the greatest this year, like top-heavy quarterbacks who could turn around a franchise, at least not yet. So could you tell me your general impressions of what you think of this quarterback class?
Well, it is fairly weak. People don't like Jared Goff because he has small hands. So I'm sorry, I love it. I think he's a hell of a quarterback. He does a lot of things that you'd like. He has good mechanics, not only throwing the ball, but just the way he moves in the pocket. His feet are always trying to be reset. He never throws off his back foot, or I shouldn't say never, but rarely throws off his back foot. He's always resetting those feet. He can read defense as well. And then you go to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is the guy that I think a lot of people are enamored by him just because you don't see a whole lot of FCS kids be considered a top 5 pick, let alone being a quarterback. But this kid has everything you want. He comes from a pro-style offense, run-dominated team at North Dakota State, but very clean and very fluid within the pocket and the way he moves. Very decisive. It has himself one cannon on that arm. He can fire some bullets in there for you and, hit you deep when you need to.
Just follow up on the quarterbacks in this draft. Obviously, here locally for us, Connor Cook is one of the players that we'll keep an eye on to see where he goes in the draft. And I know you had some interesting opinions on the way Connor Cook is perceived by the rest of the league.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think with him, it's all about, does he love football? Is he going to be the first guy in, the last guy out? What type of leader is this kid? I've mentioned it on my own podcast, for NGSC Sports, that, he was one of 3 redshirt seniors on the entire Michigan State Spartan squad. But he was the only redshirt senior that wasn't voted a captain by his teammates. And he's the quarterback of the team. Now, normally, you can take that with a grain of salt, but that's fairly telling. If you're the quarterback of your team and you're not voted as a captain by your teammates, that raises a little bit of cause for concern.
And tell me, which players are you most intrigued to see where they go this April?
Well, I'm a defensive line guy. I played D-line in college. I've always, had a love for it. So for me, I really want to see just where some of these premier edge guys go. A Shaq Lawson, Kevin Dodd, a guy that I love is Yannick Ngakwe out of Maryland. The dude can move, man. He's very good with his hands. He can bend his edge well. He has a good little shoulder dip as well. I believe it was 13 and a half sacks this year, which was a single season record at the University of Maryland. DeForest Buckner, the defensive tackle / defensive end from Oregon, is another guy. When you're 6'7", 291, with the size and strength and the athleticism that he has, he makes himself pretty versatile in terms of being able to play in a 4-3 front as a 3 technique, or even being bumped out into being a 3-4 defensive end, or as some other people call it, a 5 technique.
And when we look at free agency, what do you think free agency will tell us about where the draft is headed this year?
Well, I mean, obviously there are some notables. The biggest thing with free agency is I don't think it necessarily is going to affect the draft as much as people think. I think it will affect, obviously, the way in which a team will go through the draft. I think their philosophy might change a little bit in terms of what they want to do with that first pick, or even what they might want to do in those first 3 rounds, depending on who they've added. But overall, the big question mark still is, what's going to happen with Colin Cowper? Are the Niners going to trade him? If not, are they going to sit back? What are they going to do at 7? I think another big question to ask is, what's Denver going to do? Denver does have some insurance, not a whole lot, because they did lose some pretty key pieces off of that Super Bowl team defensively, but they still have some pieces offensively and even a couple pieces defensively that they could try and package some picks to move up. Now, do they love a quarterback enough to try and move up? That's something we don't know. Only the front office of the Broncos know. But that's something that will certainly get people thinking, leading up to April, exactly what's going to happen with this whole quarterback situation.
And when we look at the draft as a whole, who are some X factor players that you think may have a unique skill set that may help a team?
Well, for me, I think Jalen Ramsey. A lot of people say Miles Jackson's the best player in this draft. Jalen Ramsey, for me, is the best player in this draft. He's a Deion Sanders type of player, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form. So please, fans of this podcast and even fans of me who follow my work, please do not rip me on Twitter for this. But the way in which he can play corner, but he can play safety as well. He's my number 1 safety, but he's also my number 1 corner. He's very versatile. He even gives you a little bit within the return game. So Jalen Ramsey's a guy that people are going to be enamored with. I think he is easily a top 5 pick. I personally don't think he'd be out of the top 3. I think he's going to go to San Diego at 3. But there are some rumors and things swirling that makes it logical that the Titans could take him at 1. So I think he's a guy. And then, of course, these edge rushers. Shaq Lawson's a guy that I love. I think he bends the edge really well. And when you're 6'3", 275 pounds, and you can move fluid in space the way that he can, he definitely has earned himself some money in that front, being able to show that he is versatile. He can play with his hands dirt, but he can also stand up as well. Receiver-wise, which is another position that people try to talk about, saying that it's kind of down here. There are some loaded receivers in this class. For me, I love Tyler Boyd. Might not be the fastest player, but he's going to be able to do everything you want. He runs great routes. He catches fantastic balls. He can even be used in swing motion, but he's versatile within a formation. He can line up as your X, your Z, or he can even line up within the slot for you, and even sometimes out of the backfield. So those are some of the guys that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on, just to see where they fall, just because I've kind of taken a liking to them throughout the process.
And when we take a look at individual teams that have to have a solid draft in order to have better fortunes next year, which teams would you be watching in particular?
Well, I think we'd all be lying to ourselves if we can't continue to list the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, this is a new regime again, new quarterback, probably again. We have to find out whether or not they're going to be able to finally click with a quarterback and try and move this franchise in the right direction. All right, there's two things that we can say helps make a great football. Arguably, number one for me is defense. If you have a great defense, you can get away with a mediocre quarterback. Just ask Mark Sanchez when he was playing for the Jets. He wasn't great, but he had a hell of a defense for that was ran by Rex Ryan. But you look at that in hindsight. Look at some of these teams that have been in the playoffs. Okay, they've had great quarterback play, and I'm not saying Minnesota's quarterback play was great, it was fairly average, but they have efficient enough quarterbacks to lead them in the right direction. I think that's what Cleveland has to do. For the Oakland Raiders, for me, they just have to continue to kill it. They had a hell of an offseason this year. I mean, they solidified that offensive line. And over the last two drafts, they got a perennial Pro Bowler, and as a matter of fact, the first All-Pro to be listed first team at two different positions defensively in Khalil Mack. And then they have, their franchise quarterback, Derek Carr, and then last year they were able to draft the best receiver in the draft, being Amari Cooper. Now they need to figure out what they want to do defensively. I think there's some holes defensively that makes it enticing for them to try and upgrade that at 14. But I could also warm up to the idea of, say, maybe a Corey Coleman from Baylor is on the board at 14. Why not give Derek Carr an extra toy to play with Amari Cooper? I think that would be interesting. But those are really, for me, the only two teams I want to watch. Just because, I mentioned the Zimmer Broncos, everybody's going to be watching to see what they want to do. With Cleveland Browns and the Raiders have to continue to kill it. The Browns have to see if they can finally light a fire and head in the right direction.
And in your opinion, what will this draft be defined by? Will it be the defensive depth, the lack of a premier quarterback, or what will it be, in your opinion, that we'll be talking about once it's over?
Well, I think you hit both of them on the head. The first one is obviously the defensive depth. Now, we try and use this as a rule of thumb. You can't grade a draft class until 3 years after the draft has been completed. So when these guys are heading into their third year, that's when we can finally look back and say, all right, these guys were good, or this was a pretty good draft class. But the things that are going to make this draft class click, and things that people are going to continue to talk about this class, is the fact of that defensive depth, just where Jalen Smith goes because of that knee injury, and if he's ever to retain the form that he had when he was at Notre Dame prior to, and then, of course, those quarterbacks. Everybody's going to be comparing Carson Wentz and Jared Goff to one another. As well, if a guy like a Connor Cook, Christian Hackenberg, or even a Paxton Lynch sneak into the late first round, those are going to be some other guys that get pegged as well, and they're going to be graded on and compared to one another for the remainder of their careers.